I remember when I was 11 years old, my mom was 27 years old. My mom's first marriage was not a happy one. Married my dad at a very young age. My dad always beat her. My mom couldn't stand it and got divorced. I don't like my dad either, so I took the initiative to follow my mother. Daddy just every month give us 1,000 yuan for living expenses. Less than 2 years after the divorce, my mom met a boyfriend who was very good to her. His name was Licky, and he was only 26 years old at the time. But my mom is 29 years old. This equates to my mom being 3 years older than my uncle. I was 13 years old at the time. 13 years older than me. My uncle was very nice to me from the first time I saw me. Always been nice to me in the days that followed. My uncle looks very young. Take me out to play. People often think I'm his sister, but my uncle would say proudly, I am his daughter. I am very, very grateful to my uncle. Very nice to me and my mom. But even if my uncle was kind to me, I didn't call him dad either. It always felt like he was a big brother. Slowly, I felt more and more strange about my uncle. The junior high school was supposed to live on campus, but I saw my uncle so often. I don't live in school and go home every day. Mom felt indebted. I didn't force me to live on campus. Go home from self-study every night. My uncle will make me food. I am very happy. The way I looked at him was getting stranger and stranger. I also feel like I really like my uncle. It's strange that my uncle's liking is particularly special, but there's one thing I wonder every night. Mom and uncle's room. At night, there will be a sound of I was ignorant. I don't know what that means. I'm too embarrassed to ask. My uncle didn't beat my mom like my dad, but seeing that my uncle was so kind to me, I'm sure my uncle wasn't that kind of person. Junior high school is a very ignorant age. I remember one day I was chatting with a few classmates. My classmate Lily said that her parents' sons come out of the room at night. I'm embarrassed to say, said that his parents were so happy, always love. I was at a loss, so I asked Lily, what is love? Lily then told me about it, and it dawned on me. Slowly, I looked up some information on the internet. I will even watch that kind of film quietly. So slowly I understood. Since then, I heard voices coming from my mom's room. I was a little angry and a little jealous. I don't know what's going on with myself. Soon I was enrolled in college. Because I'm usually used to eating my uncle's food, my uncle would often be on weekends, run to the vicinity of my university, take me to something delicious. Later, I kept saying that I wanted to eat my uncle's cooking. My uncle doted on me, so he rented a house near the university. Every once in a while, they come over and make me something to eat. College life is more exciting than high school. My classmates and I would quietly watch those kinds of action movies in the dorm room, whether it is European, American, or Korea. Slowly, I started thinking a little bit about that. Another weekend, uncle is here again. I'm so happy. I remember that day my uncle was wearing my favorite white t-shirt. In the light of the sun, uncle is like a big boy in his 20s. That day I told my uncle that I wanted to drink. My uncle was surprised and asked me if I didn't do well in the exam. I said no. Then my uncle asked me if I was in a relationship in college. I said no. He also told me not to fall in love now. Let's talk about it after going out of society. I said okay. So we bought some cocktails. I drank a little too much that day. I told my uncle a lot. Thank you for being nice to my mom. What's wrong with being good to me? My uncle said it was as it should be. Then I told my uncle that I liked a guy. My uncle was surprised and asked me which classmate I was. Slowly, I sat down next to my uncle. I'll just say I've liked a guy for more than 10 years. He was very nice to me and loved me very much. Under the influence of alcohol, I hugged my uncle and said, I like you. My uncle touched my head and said, you are my daughter according to your generation. You can't like me. I was really disappointed. Then I started crying. Uncle was scared, hugged me and said, don't cry. I said I liked a guy for the first time. I've liked it for a long time. My uncle said I wasn't in love with him. Don't be delusional. I hugged my uncle and said, I want you. My uncle pushed me away and said, you can't do this. I'm your dad. I cried again. My uncle couldn't bear to cry. Come and comfort me again. Because we all drank alcohol, I kissed my uncle slowly, kissed him on the neck, kissed him on the mouth. Slowly, the uncle did not refuse. We did our first on the couch. In the beginning, I was in a lot of pain when my uncle entered. My uncle asked me if it was the first time. I said no, because I was afraid that my uncle would reject me. I can only lie to him. Actually, it was really my first time. Afterwards, the uncle looked at the blood on the sofa and felt very guilty. I hugged my uncle and said, Uncle, I love you. I'm willing to give it to you. And so we came little times that night. The next day, my uncle cooked for me. I hugged my uncle from behind. We were like little couples. My uncle has come to me every week since then. Because my mother is on duty on weekends, she only closes on Mondays. That's why my mom can come over to spend time with me on weekends. My uncle and I would go to the supermarket every weekend. We'll even go to a love room. My uncle was very good at that. We basically come a few times a time. My uncle also loves me very much. When I got my period, my uncle would boil me brown sugar water, hold me at night and touch my belly. Sometimes when he holds me, I notice that he is hard, but it was inconvenient for my end to come. It can't solve his physiological problems. I just watch action movies. Take a look at how other people's ends solve their boyfriends during their time. Later, when I came to my end, I'm going to jerk off with him. They even bite him. My uncle is very grateful for my dedication to him. It's always distressing to tell me not to use my mouth, which makes me uncomfortable. My mouth is for kissing him. That's it for a few years of college. I'm happy almost every weekend because I have an uncle with me. My mom didn't doubt me either. Think about me and my uncle back then. There was no shame in those years. It's really sweet. I don't regret that I gave him my first time. I don't regret following him for a few years because my uncle loves my mom too. So I didn't dare to bring it up with my uncle above board. Out of society, I also had a normal boyfriend, but he rarely went home because I didn't dare to face my uncle. My uncle is still my favorite. If I get out of the world, I really want to marry him, but I can't do that. I go home occasionally and my uncle is always embarrassed about me, always kept it a secret from me. Seeing my uncle like this, I was really distressed and uncomfortable. I don't want him to look at me in secret. I don't want to see him look at me embarrassed. Another weekend I asked my uncle to meet at the hotel. I told my uncle that this was the last time we would see each other. Uncle came to the appointment. It's been a long time since I've met my uncle alone like this. Extraordinarily nervous. I watched as my uncle hugged him tightly. Say to him that I know that the world cannot keep us together, but I really don't regret it. Don't hide it when you see me in the future, okay? Uncle nodded and said yes. And so we did it 3 more times that afternoon. I also knew that we were going to end, and my uncle also knew. I've been home ever since. My uncle never hid it from me anymore, but we give each other occasionally a helpless look. I know I loved, although I didn't ask my uncle if he ever loved me, but I know he loved me. Alright, that's all for today. In fact, everyone has their own youth. Everyone has their own memorable story. I don't regret my youth. Bye.